I believe the button has been hit. So welcome, everybody, to the Xbox 2 podcast, the very first one of the new year and new decade, January 2nd, 2020, the year of Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. What's going on, everybody? Randall Thor 19, Man with the Million, back again with another Xbox 2 podcast. And as always, we are joined by the esteemed, the incredible, the magnificent, the Death Stranding lava, Jez Corden of Windows Central.
Hello.
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 How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I hear you're ruffling some feathers out there in Twitter world and at Microsoft, huh?
Yeah, seems so. We'll talk about that in a minute, but, first of all, let's focus on the positives. Did you have a nice New Year's? Did you do anything?
Did I do anything? You know what? New Year's Day, Mr. Boomstick XL runs a great channel. He invited me and Dealer Gaming and Graphic God and Zemi Games to do a kind of year-end thing for Xbox podcast, and dude, my back killed me just like it did on Christmas, literally a week apart. My back was just killing me, but the last 2 days, no back problems whatsoever, so I must have just pulled a muscle or slept on it wrong or something, but we did a show, it was pretty great, and then nothing, man, I chilled, and I ended up just kind of hanging out by myself, and watched You Season 2 on Netflix, like a social reject, because I don't have, anybody to do anything with New Year's with. But my God, You Season 2? Man, if you didn't think they could top You Season 1, you were wrong, because they could. I love
don't
love.
know what you're talking about?
I love. Joe's love interest in this. Oh my God, You Season 2, it's out on Netflix.
What is it called?
You.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, You. Love that show. So I finished it. Man, I've just been watching a bunch of TV the past couple weeks, waiting for a bunch of new games to come out next year, man. It's where are the games? I need them because all I'm doing is watching TV. But how was your New Year's, Jez? Was it good?
Screw it. What did I do on New Year's? You know what? I think I played Darkest Dungeon all night.
Darkest Dungeon, huh?
Because I had an issue with my Wi-Fi, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where my bands were combined, so I was getting 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz on the same SSID, and it was completely random which one I get. So I split them up so I could force Xbox game streaming onto the 5 gigahertz, and I was so excited that all I did was play Darkest Dungeon in bed on Xbox game streaming all night instead of Celebrate. That's normal, right? That's normal,
very normal. Very normal.
And my cat is breaking something, I think.
What's he breaking? What is he doing?
I don't know. I could hear clattering of boxes. My cat's roaming around because I came upstairs with some Chinese food and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna scarf some of that," but now he's roaming around where I'm trying to podcast, smashing everything because I didn't give him any duck. So, yeah, that's me. Exciting,
Very exciting.
Same old, and I have been playing a lot of Death Stranding.
Yes.
If you've been following me on Twitter, I've been
yes,
raving about
Death
that.
Stranding. You have been pretty much destroying my timeline about Death Stranding. So you know what? Before we get into that, I just want to welcome everybody to the show. Me and Jez appreciate everybody who's watching now or checking it out later. We've been doing pretty good about getting the show up on Spotify and iTunes and SoundCloud after the show's over. So shout out to everybody who's going to listen to this later. But if you're here with us on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button to share this out, whether it's on Facebook or wherever, because YouTube does a piss poor job of it sometimes. And I just want to ask everybody in chat, hey, how was your New Year's? Let me know what you guys did, if you went out, partied it up, got drunk, or if you were a loser like myself who stayed home and watched TV all alone, or if you played a game, or I'm kind of interested in what people did.
And if you're listening to it on SoundCloud or a podcast service, send us a tweet.
Yeah.
Let us know. And also, I want to hear from people on Twitter and social media and stuff. What was your game of the decade? Because that was something we talked about a lot last week.
Yeah, mine, it's Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, God of War. You can tell I'm a Rockstar fan. It's like those two at top right there. Med says, Med says your back is hurt from carrying the Xbox community, fam. Yeah, that might be. That might be. Definitely the one carrying all the games for him. Not that many people in the Xbox community that actually plays games. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh dear.
Dead Captain James with the super chat. He says, "Shout out to Plague's Tale. It's finally got me out of my gaming something I've been in for the last month. Now that is a fantastic game. If you guys haven't played Plague's Tale, it's on. I think it's on sale currently, and you can't go wrong playing that. It is such an underrated gem that I hope more people actually discover. So
it's in my backlog, man. It's in my backlog. My eternal growing backlog. I'll get to it eventually. One day. Maybe.
One day. So, with that said, obviously, we're going to move into the games played. It'll probably be short, and then we're going to get into topics. I mean, we're going to be talking about the Xbox Series X power advantage. Mike Ybarra kind of like confirms that on Twitter, and Digital Foundry did their own kind of analysis. Although Mike Ybarra also questioned Xbox's desire to create AAA games, or at least he hopes they make AAA games and not AA games. So we'll talk about the game stuff. There's rumors going around that Bethesda might be for sale and PlayStation might acquire them. What? That would be nuts, right?
That would be nuts.
That would be absolutely nuts. Are we going to see the PlayStation 5 at CES? Sony said I forget the quote. It was like the future is coming, and then Cory Balrog liked something that's got people up in a tizzy. So it's like we see the PlayStation 5 there, and a whole bunch of other topics that I've written down. But before we get into all that, like I said, Jez, Death Stranding, the people want to know how you feel about this game. And I'm very interested too. So I beat the game. And shout out to Sin Vendetta for the super chat. It says, my game of the decade was Dark Souls. I'm sure it probably is a lot of people's. Sam Tolbert's game of the decade is Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, which is I'm currently replaying right now. We got a couple people. Super Panda says Life is Strange 2, Gears 5. Whole bunch of different choices here in chat. BioShock. But tell me about your new game of the generation.
I don't know if I can call it that yet because I'm only on chapter 2. How many chapters are there?
Oh, you're only on chapter. You're a baby. You're a Death Stranding little baby because you haven't even got
60 though.
There's 14 chapters, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. But the wall
14?
the wall's chapter 3. People hit a wall with chapter 3 because that chapter is really long, and then the second wall is chapter 6. You haven't even experienced anything in Death Stranding. Oh, it's so cute that you think it's game of the generation so far.
I didn't say that, but I am loving it so far, and I've been trying to savor it, which is why it's taking me so long. So I've been doing like every single side quest I can find, doing all the like the little quests to deliver random things all over the place. And once I exhaust all those, then I move to the next area. And I just moved to the port area after spending a million years, delivering packages like UPS around that sort of, I don't know what you call it, the sort of mountainous area. I don't know if it's got an official name or what, but
right.
I love it, man. I absolutely love it so far. Like it's got all those quirky Kojima-isms that I love. I think what it is for me and Kojima and stuff like that is he's showing me something that I've never seen before in a game, something unexpected. And like people rail on the gameplay a lot, but I've been really enjoying it. Like it's not like there's no combat whatsoever. Like there's plenty of combat if you do the missions and stuff that I've found so far. And stealth action, and I don't know, for people who haven't played it, I don't want to spoil what I've seen so far of it, but it's wild, man. Like some of the concepts, like reading through the interviews and the philosophies about what the Death Stranding is and all that sort of stuff. It's hard to really go into it without spoiling, but so far I'm loving it, and I really love the gameplay. I love all the tiny little details, like in the animations, like when you're trying to balance your packages and stuff like that. Like it's not just package collection; it's like the ultimate walking simulator game because you have to balance the loads. And
what about the music?
And the music? Oh yeah, the music's amazing.
Yeah,
like He's
that
it's
first
the game's
song that
Lynchian, man.
like when you're walking for the first time and that like song starts playing, it's like, don't
Yep.
be so serious. I'm just like, oh my god, here we go. Like it's kind of telling you don't take the game so seriously, but it's gonna be interesting
But
to
you know,
hear
that
your
reminds
thoughts.
me of like
What is it? What does it remind you of?
like the original Red Dead Redemption. You know, when you go in Red Dead Redemption, when you transition from, you know, is it America, and you start going into sort of the deserty area? Like, I suppose is it supposed to be Mexico? I don't know.
Yeah,
But
you go to Mexico and Red Dead. Yeah.
yeah, you transition, and like when you do that, like that, the music starts playing. I think that was the first game that sort of felt dynamic like that in an open world, and obviously a bunch of games have done it since. But it's that vibe, that sense of journeying, which so many games don't really do that well these days.
Are you enjoying the movie? Because the very beginning of the game, up to chapter 3, is basically a long ass movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
good.
that's what I expect of Kojima, you know. I think like some people on Twitter have said like you're biased towards Kojima games, and I don't know if I call it bias, but I definitely know what to expect when I'm getting into a game that's made by Hideo Kojima, you know.
Right.
You know what to expect, right?
Yeah.
And I haven't been disappointed so far. It's like I don't know. I'm just a fan of like everything he's done, and it's kind of a mood now. The mood is almost nostalgic. It's hard to put into words, but I'm enjoying it so far. I'll talk about it again when I get to the end and offer my final thoughts. But
It's going to be interesting to see what you think after you've gone through chapter 3, after you've climbed the mountains in chapter 6, and after you get to the end and come back, or towards the end and come back. It's going to be interesting to see how your thoughts change. Can't wait to see.
I'm intrigued.
So someone on Twitter, ProKiller Dante, wanted me to shout him out for no reason this time. Thanks, or tell me to get wrecked in the shout out. Thanks. Get wrecked, ProKiller Dante. And just someone asked me if we're ever going to discuss Pokemon again, right? Or
No.
He's like, "Are you going to discuss how Pokemon is a great game?" And my
I
response
talked about I caught Shiny Magikarp yesterday.
you saw
that?
Who's that?
Nah, never mind.
Right, okay. So he goes, "Are you going to discuss how Pokemon is a great game?" And I replied to him with, "You will never hear the words Pokemon and great game in the same sentence from me." In fact, that right there is the only time you'll hear them together, because you'll never ever hear me say Pokemon is a great game and actually mean it, because I've given myself like a deadline of like finishing it by next week or the week after. So, but I did actually start playing The Witcher 3 again. And Sin Vendetta, thanks for the super chat. He says, "Rand, when do you think become the man with 2 million? Probably never. I'm at like 1.26 million. If I wanted to be, I could probably be at like 1.8 million if I actually tried. But doing that, you'd be playing a lot of garbage. A lot of garbage out there for Gamerscore. I don't want to do that anymore. So that'll probably never happen. So, and Deck Captain James says, "I felt the same until chapter 3, Jez. Then I hated it and just finished the story through YouTube." See, I was doing all the side quests in Death Stranding until I hit chapter 6, and then I never did another one. Like, I was, because I don't want to ruin it, but like, I was like building highways. I was doing all the extra deliveries. I'm like, oh, this is great. And then I get to chapter 6, and I'm just like, no, I'm done doing all the extra stuff. I'm just doing the story stuff now.
Well, maybe I'll be the same way. But like, I just drove through some mountains on the bike, and I was at a sort of point where I was like, shall I carefully get down this cliff, or shall I see if I can just speed off the cliff on the bike and just survive? So like, out of laziness, I took like a huge risk and smashed my bike to pieces, and all the cargo flew all over the place, and that got broken too. So,
is there a lot of structures in your game? Like, I played it right at launch. There's tons of stuff. Like, I wonder how people who play this game a year from now, like, once you connect to the network, is everything just going to be built for you? You know what I mean?
I was wondering that actually, like, how much stuff was there at launch, because there's a lot of stuff. There's basically bridges everywhere now, and I don't even have PlayStation Network, so I was like, So I was surprised that it even worked.
Yeah, they do a little more lax on their online stuff. Like Destiny, I know you don't need PlayStation Plus to do certain things. Like I think the free roam you don't need PlayStation Plus for. Obviously, free to play games don't require PS Plus on PlayStation, but they do on Xbox. I think that's a huge oversight for Xboxes. You know,
Yeah.
the idea of like Fortnite is a free game but requires a subscription to Xbox Live is kind of silly to me. Especially when
Yeah.
your competition, both
It is
Nintendo
silly.
Switch and PlayStation, it's free to play those. But hey, well, what do I know, right? So playing Witcher 3 again. Got inspired after watching the show, which I really enjoyed on Netflix. Can't get the song out of my head. Toss a coin to your Witcher. And I sing that to like Colt when we're in parties together, or Zalker or Dealer, and they just laugh at me because I have a horrible. Apparently, I have a horrible singing voice.
That's not very nice.
I know, right? I mean,
I'm sure it's not that bad.
So here's the thing. I like Witcher 3 a lot, right? I put 50 hours into it the very first time I played it back when it came out in 2015. The problem I have with the game is that the stuff I'm doing now I've already done. And I am not someone who likes to replay stuff because I find it to be boring. And especially because this game has a lot of dialogue. And it's dialogue I've already heard. It's even doubly boring, but then I don't want to skip the dialogue because I'll be in the habit of skipping it. So when I actually get to new stuff, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, man, I wish I would have finished it when I originally played it. It is nice playing it on the Xbox One X because I played it on the One, but the X I can play it in 1080p 60 frames, so it runs at 60. Obviously, it looks great on my OLED. I'm just gonna have to power through the early content that I played through originally to get back to where I was, huh?
Well, I was the same as you. I started playing it on Saturday, I think. And I was kind of like, oh man, I've done this part before, and oh man, I've done this part as well. And I just went back to Death Stranding. So I think like I need to play, if I'm gonna play it again, I maybe need to play it when I've got totally bored of everything and I've got nothing else to play. I got so much to play right now, it just feels almost kind of wrong to backtrack to an old game that I've almost fully completed. So I never actually finished Blood and Wine. I did start Hearthstone, which was amazing, by the way. And yeah, I love the game, but it's amazing seeing it top 100,000 users.
That was going to talk about
Steam.
here in a second. But shout out to Adam for the super chat. He says, just wanted to say Game Pass Ultimate for 5 cents a day is being honored by Microsoft for anyone who took advantage of that. Yeah, there was that little mistake that they made. I thought about making a video like weeks ago about it, but I wasn't sure if Microsoft would honor this. So if you would like changed your billing cycle for Game Pass Ultimate, because you can pay it. I think you can set it to like a monthly recurring charge, right? You were able to change it to a daily charge where they would charge you 5 cents. So a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate came out to be like $18 instead of $180. So clearly somebody didn't move the decimal place in the right spot because it was supposed to be 50 cents instead of 5 cents. So Adam's saying that if you did that, Microsoft would honor the mistake. So hopefully people did that. And I don't know if you'd want to look at your bank statement. Can you imagine looking at your bank statement and seeing a charge from Microsoft every single day for the next year for 5 cents a day? That's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So shout out to Osman for the super chat. It says happy 2020. Happy 2020 to you as well and everybody in the chat. I see we have Zalker and Darge Knight and Joe Bailey and Dealer Gaming all up in here. Jesse Darby, the Daz, UK Dazarus. A lot of great people in chat. Make sure you guys hit the like button because we're going to be moving on to the topics. And like Jez says, The Witcher hits 100,000 on Steam 4 years after it came out. which is utterly amazing. It's kind of crossing over into not only a big video game franchise, but potentially a big multimedia franchise. That, obviously it's already a book. He's rocketed up to like #1 on Amazon for author. The show's doing well. The game's doing well. So here's my question to you, Jez, because I know we talked a little bit about this last week. Could the Halo show have the same effect that The Witcher's having on Halo when that comes out, I think, next year? And Jez isn't here.
Sorry, man. I like a PC froze for a moment there.
Your PC froze. So I was saying, so you know how Witcher's doing great right now, all because of the Netflix show, getting people reinvigorated to experience that game again, taking that franchise and CD Projekt Red to the next level. We know Halo has a show coming that they've casted for. Do you think it's possible that show could do for what it's doing right now for Witcher could do it for Halo?
Man, that's tough. And I tell you why. Because Microsoft sees sees Halo as a teen-rated franchise. And the reason The Witcher's doing so well is because it's adult-rated and R-rated, and passionate adult fans are loving it and stuff like that. I don't think a teen-rated, teenagey, safe Halo show is going to help Halo, personally.
Do you also think their choice of putting it on Showtime would hurt it as well? Maybe if it was a Netflix show?
Yeah, probably. I ain't a fan of... I say I ain't a fan. I don't even know what Showtime is. So that's what I meant to say.
It's like HBO, but worse.
So we don't get HBO here, so we definitely don't get Showtime here. Oh yeah, Showtime. Twin Peaks Season 3 was on Showtime, so I had to wait for it to come out on DVD. So I don't think we get Showtime here in the good old of Europe. So I personally don't care about what they're doing with that. No.
Remember, because they wanted to do like a Halo show at the beginning of this whole launch when Microsoft was debuting the Xbox One. It was TV, right? Like they had, we're going to make Halo and Steven Spielberg's going to produce it and blah, 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 blah. And it never took off and they never did anything. I just see like missed opportunity after missed opportunity because here you have Witcher, it's a really good show. It's maybe not necessarily a great show. There's things they could do better, but hey, it's season 1. And I just see how everybody's reinvigorated into the franchise and I'm like, damn it! Microsoft was early to the show again, and they screwed it up. They screwed it up again, like they screwed up Cortana. So look at that little segue into the.
I think that what it is with Microsoft is they're so cautious and scared of offending people or doing anything that's slightly risky. Like they'll never be like the Witcher show is great, partially because it's sexy.
Ooh, yeah.
Microsoft just doesn't do sexy.
You don't think Master Chief can be sexy?
The dude's wearing full bodysuit.
What about Cortana's naked though, Jazz? What do you mean?
Not anymore. Not anymore. She
got clothes in the last one. Can't offend anybody who's playing the game, right?
Can't offend anyone now. No sex allowed. Microsoft is the anti-sex company.
Yeah,
so because they're anti-sex company, they can't make TV shows that will sell games. I think it's as simple as that. So I'm not expecting the Halo show to be anything to write home about, and I'm not expecting it to help Halo out at all. I think Halo's got all the help that it can possibly get right now by being on PC, and that's been huge for Halo's brand so far.
Yeah, I agree.
But Microsoft sees Halo as a teen-rated franchise, and it'll never really reach up to that level of The Witcher or anything like that because it is stuck as a teen-rated franchise.
Yeah,
it's a kiddie shooter, man. Sorry to all the Halo fans out there, but it's a kiddie shooter. That's the way I see it.
Well, first off, shout out to the Ravenflow for the super chat. It's a happy New Year, Rand and Jess. Happy New Year to you as well, Ravenflow. Now, there's been some talk like, you can't have a TV show where a character keeps his helmet on the entire season because people can't relate to him, right? And you mentioned, it's teen. But The Mandalorian came out and proved that you can have a teen-rated show because it doesn't really have any realistic violence. It doesn't even have lightsabers. It's got blasters.
Did the dude get cut in half in the first episode?
Yeah, you don't really see it though, and I'm pretty sure it's teen rated as most of Disney's stuff is. But he keeps his helmet on the entire time. So
I can't even see Microsoft doing like violence on that level.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's Master Chief. Either way, I want to talk about the segue that I positioned to Cortana.
I just want to say, like, I hope I'm wrong, and that the Halo.
Yeah, I hope I'm wrong too. I hope the Halo
but
show's good.
I'm not expecting it to be good. I'm not expecting it to be good because Microsoft doesn't like risks. They don't like taking risks. They don't like anything sexy. They don't like anything controversial. So I'm not expecting it to be good because it's going to be played safe. It's going to be boring. That's my expectation for the Halo show.
I mean, it's just like if it was good, it would be. I mean, maybe not on the level The Witcher is right now, but like people will be like, you know what, this Halo show's great. I'm gonna check out some supplemental material, whether it's the game or the books, and people just get reinvigorated back into the franchise. I mean, like Witcher's proved that. I hope. I mean,
you know what game is sexy?
What game is sexy?
Death Stranding. See,
Norman
Reedus naked 24/7 in that game.
You know,
why can't we ever see Master Chief naked?
You and Dealer need to talk about Death Stranding. He wants you to come on RDX at some point. I told him. I was talking to him today.
I have a feeling he hates it.
I was talking to him today before I got on to get ready for the show, and I'm like, Dealer, you know that Jez thinks Death Stranding is a game of the generation, and he had to spit out his drink. So yeah, you guys need to talk a little bit. You need to get on that show, and you need to school Dealer, okay?
I will school Dealer on why Death Stranding is a philosophical triumph of modern media, something.
Modern media, something.
Word.
Right. So Cortana, tell me what happened today, Jez. You got blocked by someone at Microsoft because you went in on Cortana. It was all based around your localization article where you said, hey, if you want to go after 2 billion gamers, it's a great thing, Microsoft. Do it if that's what you really are focused on. But you need to localize better because not everybody speaks English in this world. Sure, United States, United Kingdom, maybe like the breadwinner for the video game industry, as most of the stuff is sold here. But hey, there's other countries out there that don't speak English. You need to really focus on localization. So seems like your article ruffled some feathers, and of course you pointing out that Cortana was a disaster, and it didn't go over pretty well, did it?
Yeah, the Windows team doesn't handle feedback as well. Xbox team, I think sometimes, but I was a bit mean to the guy. To be fair.
You're just a little.
He said something that really annoyed me. So what happened was, I can't remember what inspired me to write the article. Someone tweeted something at me, and I was kind of like, man, it sucks that Xbox fans in the US and UK often have to go an extra mile to get the very basic features that we take for granted in the West. Like, for example, in South Korea, there's a community of Xbox fans who work together on a Google spreadsheet to find the games that are localized in Korea, because Microsoft doesn't provide that information, even though South Korea is listed as a supported region. And then that wasn't the original tweet that inspired this, but from that original tweet, which I can't even remember what it was because I was so drunk last week, I just discovered just how bad Xbox is in basically every country that isn't the US, UK, or Canada. It's like there's so many features that are missing, ranging from like the banal, like Microsoft rewards not being available, or Microsoft, or little things like I don't know, sweepstakes not being available outside the US and UK and stuff like that. Like little things, little things that would be nice to have that aren't necessarily essential, all the way to like ridiculous stuff like people who buy an Xbox in Croatia have to put a fake address in and pretend they're from the UK in order to buy games because their region's not supported, even though you can buy the console in these countries. So, and to be fair, a lot of these countries are listed as unsupported regions, but even in the supported regions like Japan, they've like had Cobalt as their Xbox games with gold almost every month for the last year. Cobalt
in Japan?
Every single month. Yeah, in Japan and South Korea too.
So the 10 people that own Xbox One in Japan surely by now have Cobalt, right?
Yeah. They get Cobalt every single month because they're asleep at the wheel. And South Korea and Japan are listed as supported regions for Xbox, but they sure as hell don't act like it. Like it blows my mind. Like and just simple stuff like the dashboard not having Greek characters and stuff like that, I believe, and Xbox not understanding that Belgium has two languages. They speak Flemish and French in Belgium, like half the country split down the middle. But Xbox doesn't understand any of this stuff. Meanwhile, you get companies like Apple and Google, which are doing just fine on their phones, and you get Sony too doing just fine, localizing for almost double the regions that Xbox supports. And then when you see like Phil Spencer, sorry Phil, I'm calling you out, but when you see Phil Spencer go up in interviews and say we want to reach 2 billion gamers, but they can't even get the very basics of localization right, it makes you wonder like how American centric is this company?
Very American centric.
Yeah,
I think that's well known.
It like I was bitching at Phil and Xbox like for not having some 4K movies in the UK. Like that's like the ultimate first world problem, right? But like gamers in like Iran, for example, Xbox fans in Iran, they have to tunnel through a VPN to connect to Xbox Live because of the US government leveraging sanctions against their government. And that's like obviously not something Xbox can fix, but it just made me realize how much of an issue it can be for gamers who just love the hobby. They love Xbox, and despite how Microsoft treats them like trash, they still support the brand, and they just want to get better services, you know. And I realize that costs money, but the idea is you spend a bit of money, you invest in the country, you invest in the people that are there, and they'll respond, you know. And even in Germany, like I live in Germany, you can't go into a shop and buy an Xbox gift card or a Game Pass gift card or a Xbox Live gift card, but you can sure as hell buy Steam and PlayStation gift cards because Microsoft doesn't make any effort to address German Xbox fans. They don't make any effort to address any fans who aren't outside of their English-centric, you know, markets. And Sony just does a much, much better job with less money. There's no excuse for it, really. There is no excuse. I'm getting angry about it, man.
I can tell you're getting angry.
Getting angry about it. I'm getting angry.
Some people in chat are enjoying it. Some people are saying, "Hey, stop grandstanding. You're nitpicking and stuff." So, yeah. I mean, Forza Irwin in chat says Sony is greatly supported here in the Netherlands, but Xbox is at a very low standard.
Dude, when I tweeted. Can you, if you're outside the US, UK, can you give me some feedback about how Xbox is supported in the country? I was expecting like maybe, 10 DMs. I got like 200 DMs from all over the world. And I really learned a lot about how crappy Xbox is outside of the US and UK. And when they talk about taking Xbox global and addressing users where they are and bringing the Xbox dashboard to other countries via Project xCloud and stuff, I just laugh. Because they can't even get the basics of localization right. And that's when I tweeted comparing it to Cortana, because Cortana came out half a year before Alexa did. And they had a big head start. But Amazon, being a normal company, a normal, global company, they had a global mindset, and they were like, you know what? We're going to take Alexa global. We're going to localize it in every bloody language on earth. And we're going to really push it really hard. And we're going to have a dedicated speaker, and it's going to speak every goddamn language in the world. And here we are now in 2020, Cortana is dead and Alexa is massive. And Microsoft gave away a huge voice-controlled computer market away, even though it was the first out of the gate, because they don't care about the markets outside of the US and the UK. And I tweeted that, and then Microsoft senior technical advisor got really mad at me and said, that's not why we shifted strategies on Cortana. And then I got annoyed because I was thinking like, that's a funny way to describe Cortana being dead. Shifting strategies. So I got annoyed at him, and then he blocked me. And then I tweeted about that. He blocked me.
Well, I mean, I hope that maybe your article opens up some eyes at Microsoft that they need better localization.
I think they know, man. They know because they've got the Xbox Insider Feedback Hub, and people probably complain about that on it. But the difference between the Insider Hub is that I can make a load of noise and make it public and be annoying about it and tweet about it, and people read my article thousands and thousands of people, and then Google News picks it up because Google sees it and thinks, oh, that's negative Microsoft news. I'll have some of that, and they'll post it on Google News, and and then it'll go viral, and then someone at Microsoft will get yelled at, hopefully, and they'll do something about it. But it's not on, and it's not even just about like providing a good level of service for Xbox fans. It's about taking the brand global. You can't take the brand global if you're not supporting global localization. It's basic stuff. And to be fair, this isn't just an Xbox problem. This is an Office problem. This is a Windows problem. It's even an Azure problem. Like, Microsoft just sucks at having a global mindset, and it's killing them.
Right.
Look at Cortana, look at Windows Phone, look at all these other services that have failed because they tried to make it US only, and it's just not the way the world works anymore. So that's my rant on
that. Is your rant, and I did want that rant because you were very passionate about it when we were talking about it earlier. I know there's gonna be some people
depress me, man. I'm gonna depress me hearing about all these.
Well,
people.
True. I know there's gonna be some people that support it because there are a lot of. I mean, like, so as a gamer who lives here in America, it's like, yeah, Microsoft does everything to make sure that I'm taken care of, so I don't have any perspective of what it's like for my fellow Xbox gamer in other countries. So I don't know their experiences, and you collected a bunch of information, you talked to a lot of people, and you say, hey, for a lot of people not in English-speaking countries, it's not the best experience. And it's like, I've always said that even though I think Xbox Series X is going to be amazing, that I really don't think if you're looking at like console sales, like, I don't really think Microsoft stands a chance against PlayStation, because PlayStation is a global brand and they do the localization stuff way better. It's Microsoft has always been just kind of focused, whether rightly or wrongly, maybe wrongly in this case, on America and UK, but it's like they honestly should fix that. And hopefully, like I said, your article brings more attention and more pressure, because that's how things get actually resolved. So
it's just frustrating because, like, I know that sometimes these problems are like, they go beyond simply the want to have. I want to have Microsoft rewards, like, and then you could argue that maybe there isn't a business case for this, but the problem is that Sony does it, and if Sony does it, why can't Microsoft? If Sony does it better than Microsoft with less money and less resources, then that's a failing on Microsoft's part. The fact there's a frame for comparison makes this hard to defend Microsoft against. So, like, if Microsoft wants to sell as many consoles as PlayStation ever, if it even wants xCloud to reach those gamers in countries that it currently has no foothold in, it needs to take those customers more seriously.
Yeah.
It's just kind of depressing. And I know Microsoft does really well in some non-English markets, like they do really well in Brazil and Mexico and stuff like that. But even in those countries, I've heard complaints from people. So, it is what it is. And if Sony's doing a good job, then there's no reason Microsoft can't do a better job either. And if I ain't giving Microsoft shtick about it, then I ain't doing my job.
Right. That's just his job. Anyways.
To my job.
Now that you just, basically just went at Microsoft for the past 10 minutes, you have anything positive to say about Xbox recently, Jazz?
No.
You have nothing.
I'm joking.
You have nothing positive to say.
I'm joking. Like what?
I don't know. Well,
I'm excited. I'm still, despite all this.
I mean, I just remember, after Series X was revealed, you were like, you tweeted that you had more faith or more excitement for what Xbox is doing in the future.
I do, but I'm in the UK. So is true. My Xbox is in the UK. So I have a UK billing address, which basically makes my Xbox UK region, and I get to enjoy the almost full.
But do they even have rewards in the UK? Is that just kind of exclusive?
Yeah, they do.
That they do? Okay.
They do.
I thought it was.
They got rewards in a lot of the European Western markets now. Germany has it too, and stuff like that. They're getting there. It's just slow, but like you never know for sure if they're gonna keep it or if they're committed because historically they haven't been committed. And like I say, like the localization thing, it's a cultural problem at Microsoft. It's a company wide issue across their whole damn business. And I was hoping that like it would get better over the years, but it just hasn't.
Mm.
But disregarding the localization stuff, which has a huge amount of hurdles in of its own right. There is plenty of reason to be optimistic about the future of Xbox if you are a fan in a properly supported region, because there are so many awesome stuff be in the works for it.
There sure is.
Like, and 2020 is going to be a big year for Xbox. Like it or not, you got the Xbox Series X, you got promising games like Hellblade, just looks staggeringly good if that trailer is any indication. Obviously we haven't seen gameplay yet, we have no idea about the scope of the game, but you have to expect that it's going to be broader in scope than the first game. Halo Infinite's coming if you're a Halo fan. I'm not,
and I am a Halo fan, and I think that game, I hope that game's going to be great. Yeah, so I think Microsoft and Xbox are on the rise rather than, on the decline or even treading water. We were just pointing out something a little bit different that nobody really talked. I mean, when's the last time anybody on YouTube or anybody podcast talked about localization problems? Probably never.
It's a big issue. I mean, the simple fact that article is like got a ton of traffic. I know that a lot of people, it resonated with a lot of people.
Yeah, same thing with,
to me, it's the big issue.
Can Xbox One sad play disc-based games? No. How long? So
No.
when someone clicked on that article, did it just say no? Was that the only word that needed to be said?
It says that in the short title at the top, pretty much.
All right. So moving on from this topic, PlayStation 5, really quickly. Well, we got a bunch of stuff kind of tied into this. CES is next week, Jez. Do you know what CES is?
Yes, the Consumer Electronics Show, and Central melting down about it right now.
So you guys are going to be covering it? Windows Central will be covering CES?
Yeah, CES is all about laptops, really.
Yes.
Today we've had like new announcements from Dell, Lenovo, and just tons of laptops. So it's big for us on the laptop front. Usually Microsoft doesn't really do anything there, but interestingly,
well, I mean, I have a feeling Phil's going to be there because AMD has a press conference, and they're going to be talking about the next generation GPUs that are more than likely powering these next gen systems. Last year, I'm pretty sure he was there, and he went on stage and he said some things. I wouldn't be shocked if he was there again. Maybe get more information about the GPU that's actually in the Series X, right? But there's kind of another rumor making the rounds about CES, and that is that Sony might reveal the PlayStation 5 there. I think their tagline is like, the future is coming. They do have a press conference, as they always do, but mostly it's kind of just about TVs, and sometimes they give like sales information. I'm sure we'll get updated information about like the PlayStation 4 and how many consoles they sold over the holidays and what number it's at, and et cetera, et cetera. But a lot of people are going along this line of thinking that they're going to reveal the PlayStation 5 there, which I don't like. Here's what I think might happen. I think during their press conference, there's a possibility that a trailer plays, maybe like a minute long, maybe a minute and a half long, that hypes up the PlayStation 5 and then ends with PlayStation meeting February whatever date 2020. And then that story gets picked up by all the gaming media outlets. The trailer gets put up on YouTube, and instead of everybody talking about Xbox Series X, which has been the conversation, quite frankly, since the VGAs, boom, here you go, PlayStation 5 getting revealed, and now that talk will be kind of like at the forefront again and leading up into that. That's what I think possibly can happen. I don't expect like the console to be there in any meaningful manner, but I do expect them to tease it, and maybe, because I was looking at PlayStation's YouTube channel and they released a trailer in January for the February media event. So I would not be surprised if that actually happened. What do you think?
Well, You're usually pretty spot on with these kinds of predictions for some reason.
For some reason, huh?
Some reason. So, yeah, why not? Let's go with that.
For some reason. I mean, this whole like cycle has been so different than previous ones. Previous ones is like you reveal it here, you only talk about it here, and that here is usually E3. This year, for this cycle, Sony's like, nah, we're revealing stuff in a Wired article. A Wired article? What? And then
It's
Microsoft,
because generations are gone, and
Yeah.
nobody wants to notice or admit this, but the generations are over. We now have like one ecosystem per manufacturer, and that just going to get upgraded in perpetuity until it just stops being viable. So like we don't have like typical generations anymore. Like the PlayStation 5 is presumably going to be fully backwards compatible, just like the Xbox Series X is fully backwards compatible with the Xbox One. So it's changed.
and I did see Hip Hop Gamer says that he knows, and he says he knows for a fact that the PlayStation 5 will be back compat with PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4. So
well, if
that would be huge.
PS1, PS2, and PS4.
PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4.
PS3 as well.
I mean, that's what he says. I mean, wow. I expect it to be fully back compat with the PlayStation 4, maybe some PS1 and PS2 stuff. But if somehow Sony was able to be fully back compat with like the entirety of their legacy, that would be huge. Just like it is for massive. Xbox. Like here we have some Xbox original Xbox games, 360 games, Xbox One games. I mean, it's.
I'll tell you what. If Sony does that, I'll be there day one.
You'll be there day one, huh?
I'll be there day one because I've still got my PS1 and PS2 games. I've still got them. So like that would change things for me, and I'd presumably change it for a lot of people who are sort of my age, who have a lot of PlayStation 1 relics lying around. But if they can pull that off, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any of my old games from the PlayStation era. I would assume like maybe they'd start selling some of those games digitally. I don't know if like you'd put in the disc like Grand Theft Auto 3 on your PlayStation 2 and it would just play. But the big one would be PlayStation.
Licensing problems, right?
For some of them, yeah. For some of them, sure. You probably wouldn't be able to do all of them, but like the big one would be PlayStation 3 because the cell processor. They did back compat with only PlayStation Now. Like you could only basically stream PlayStation 3 games on PlayStation Now, but if that was somehow done differently for the PlayStation, like I've never played a PlayStation 3 game because I skipped the PlayStation 3. I know, right? I only played the remasters on the PlayStation 4. I played like the Uncharted collection. I played Last of Us Remastered. That's it, man. Like I think the only PlayStation...
I only played Metal Gear Solid 4. That's all I played on PS3.
So, I mean, if somehow that was changed and maybe the Resistance games were put on there or Metal Gear Solid 4 and they were offered digitally and it actually worked, I would actually probably consider playing those because I never have. So,
oh man, Metal Gear Solid 4 is so good.
Yeah. I just marvel at like how much different this gen is. Like you have, like I said, Sony doing articles, two articles with Wired, right? Skipping E3, skipping PSX, not doing a show, which was unusual for them. Then you have Xbox bringing back XO, right? And then they reveal the console at the VGAs, which is a show people were making fun of not less than 2 to 3 years ago. You know? Like people like the VGAs, like Jeff Keighley's a joke, and Schick Hydro Man, and do you remember when like Joe McHale was on it that one year and it was terrible? But I mean, credit to Jeff Keighley, he's done great work at it to get it to the point where it's respectable enough, where like a lot of people watch it, and like now you have Xbox revealing the console itself at the show, and it's like, what is next? And it's like, so I don't immediately dismiss rumors of the PlayStation at CES just because of how crazy this whole gen is. It's like, well, nobody expected Xbox at Series X. Granted, the demographics and the target audience would be exactly the same, so it made sense. But it's just like, just to immediately dismiss it is like, I don't know. I think there will be a trailer, but that's just me.
And that's like, speaking of crazy, there's one rumor that sort of came out of left field recently that's sort of, been dismissed by some, like this whole rumor that Sony might buy Bethesda.
Oh yeah, we gotta talk about that.
Some people DM me about this, like, oh man, could this be true? Blah 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 and stuff like that. And like, I have no insider knowledge about what Sony's up to. It's not my job. But like, if you look at the way Bethesda's been behaving in the past year, the way sort of ZeniMax has been handling, quote unquote. I'm not sure if I can call it that, but it kind of feels like ZeniMax is sort of cashing in on Bethesda as much as it can, making them make these sort of cashing games riddled with microtransactions, which seem like really far removed from Bethesda's, legacy and stuff. And you've got like developers like his name now, but one of the founding members of id Software left the company after Rage 2. Tim something. I can't remember his name.
I don't know his name either. Okay.
Yeah, I can't help myself for not being able to remember, but that's my brain. 4 years. But yeah, he departed the company, which wasn't a particularly optimistic look, I guess you could say. And then you've got like all the weird games they've been making recently, and which just and Fallout 76's subscription thing, which feels like it's been such a PR disaster for them. Baking a subscription into Fallout 76, which is barely half a game, but still, I bet it's made a lot of money for them, just because games like that do. And it just feels like ZeniMax is trying to squeeze as much money out of them as they can before they exit, before the owners cash in. So I wouldn't be surprised if, the rumors that ZeniMax is looking to sell are true. I wouldn't be surprised. I also wouldn't be surprised if Sony's in the bidding.
That would be crazy. That would be industry shaking. You see, when I saw that article today, the reason it caught my eye was because, I don't know, 3 or 4 days ago, someone messaged me saying that Bethesda's for sale and Xbox should go get them. And I'm thinking like, man, yeah, you buy Bethesda, they have tons of studios. They got Bethesda themselves. They have Machine Games, which do the Wolfenstein stuff. They have Arcane Studios, which did Prey. They have Tango Gameworks, I believe, who did The Evil Within. I mean, I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, but there's quite a bit. It's like, man, if you bought them, you'd have so many new studios and with such content pipeline, you wouldn't have to necessarily worry about games ever again, really, because there's so many of them. And I'm like, but buying a publisher, it's one thing to buy studios that need help, independent studios like Ninja Theory worrying about their next check. Obsidian, God, we can't really make ends meet with Kickstarter, but we're really good at what we do. Microsoft comes in, is like, don't worry about it. Make what you want. Here's the money. Just produce great content, right? So like that helps out because you don't want to see studios shut down and people lose their jobs. Same thing with even Insomniac. Insomniac is like, we just want better stability. We work well with Sony. Sony's like, all right, we work together. Spider-Man was great. Let's continue this relationship. Blah, 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 blah. And even in both cases, when Sony bought Insomniac, Microsoft didn't really lose anything. And when Microsoft bought these other studios, it's like Sony didn't really lose anything. What did they really lose? Like Ninja Theory's next game, or maybe Obsidian's next games, and whatever. It's not that big of a deal. But like to lose Bethesda, to lose like the game, like Elder Scrolls and Fallout and Wolfenstein and all that stuff. There's a lot of things there. Now I think they're only valued at like 1.2 billion. So I think it wouldn't cost that much. Probably looking at like 4-5 billion, which is,
that's the thing though. Presumably, if Bethesda are looking for a buyer, if ZeniMax is looking for a buyer, it's not just Sony that are going to be in the running. You're going to have Tencent in the running.
Yeah, Tencent.
You're going to have Amazon. You're going to have Google in the running as well.
That's who makes sense. Amazon or Google. That like for those two trying to get in the industry, it makes more sense buying Bethesda than Sony, because Sony buys Bethesda. Let's say hypothetically Sony buys Bethesda. They would have to shut down the whole publishing arm, because what does Sony need that for, right? They'd have to shut down the whole marketing arm, because what does Sony need that for? They have their own marketing. So you're talking about, hey, it'd be a great PR for fanboy, even for Xbox. Like, let's just imagine, guys, everyone in chat here, you already know exactly how it would play out. Say tomorrow, or you know what? Say at the PS5 reveal event, Jim Ryan gets up on stage and he just looks in the camera and is like, I'm happy to announce, or no, even better, what would he say? If you're a fan of Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Wolfenstein, and some of Bethesda's franchises, the only place you'll be able to play those in the future is on PlayStation. People would go crazy. The internet would melt. And the same thing for Microsoft. If, like, Phil Spencer had said that, like, the only places to play any of this stuff would be on, the Xbox or PC, right?
Yeah.
But that's, like, kind of that first domino of this is, like, just the first salvo in the war. Because what happens if Google decides, you know what, we need in, let's buy EA? You're like, EA? Like, what? And then what if Amazon's like, man, we need a foothold too. Let's buy Ubisoft. And now like the video game industry starts resembling the movie industry, whereas in only a few mega corporations start owning everything. Like that where I could see a potentially really scary scenario.
Where Tencent owns everything.
Yeah, Tencent owns all.
Because that's what it would end up being. Tencent own literally everything, but that's the main thing really. It's less about what Bethesda brings to Microsoft, because Wolfenstein didn't sell that well. The last two games didn't sell that well. Prey didn't sell that well. Dishonored didn't sell that well. So the games you've got left are sort of like Elder Scrolls Online, which is sort of a middling MMO, which has its fans, but it's no World of Warcraft, put it that way. You've got sort of like Fallout Shelter, which is probably their most popular game, most profitable game, definitely, which certainly fits Microsoft's portfolio because they want to be in mobile. And then you've got like the thing that's most valuable there is probably like their IP, the Elder Scrolls IP, the Fallout IP, which has some crossover with Microsoft's own IP. Because aren't Obsidian rumored to be working on an answer to Skyrim?
Yeah. So before I answer that, I gotta get to some of these people's super chats. So if I miss one, I'm sorry, but I kind of just been getting in the conversation with Jez. So Sin Vendetta says, I can't imagine the PS5 would be hardware-based backwards compatibility because that would jack up the price. And Adam says, you always want your studios to grow, but if Xbox can't afford CD, then just how much money would Bethesda cost? 3 times the amount, even more, to be honest. Yeah, and that's one of the things here we're talking about. It's like, acquiring somebody like Compulsion is easy, or Playground Games, right? Insomniac. But you're talking about Bethesda, or ZeniMax, who is, holds Bethesda and all their studios. So it's like, that's ridiculous amount. Like, if that were to happen, I mean, it's probably not going to happen. Like, if you were to put dollars to donuts, if we were to put money on it today, I'd be like, no, absolutely not. Like, for that type of money, for the domino effect it could cause in the industry, I just don't see PlayStation doing it. I could see maybe why PlayStation would want to do it, and I would see why Xbox would want to do it, but it's like the money, because it's not necessarily about the money that you put up at front, because quite frankly, what's $4 billion to Microsoft? It's nothing. Wasn't it for Minecraft, Jez? It was basically just money that they kept overseas, right? It was just like,
pretty much.
Yeah, right? But it's not really about that. It's about the employees that they would then have to start paying. Like, you essentially would have 1,000 employees now coming under your pay structure. It's not necessarily about the initial cost, because the initial cost will be low. It'll be about all those new employees that you would have to pay their salaries and do their insurance for. And it's like, that is the struggle in that part. And then, of course, you'd have to fire everybody. And yes, it is a rumor, like we mentioned. So who knows if it happened? Just put it out there. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because, like I said, someone had mentioned to me that Bethesda might be for sale. And then I see this rumor today, Bethesda for sale. And I'm like, what, could it be possible? So yeah. So, Jazz, man, what is gaming going to look like 12 years from now? Are we going to have a scenario where like each one of these big companies just owns like a big publisher, and it's just Tencent, Microsoft, Sony, and like Google? Or is Google already done? Or is Stadia already a failed experiment?
I don't think Google's done. It's just there's too much at stake at the end of the day. But at the same time, Google's undergoing a massive restructuring of its own. Like the two founding two founding members are departing, and they're going to have like a new general, you know, bridge of control, I guess you could call it. But it kind of depends like what he wants to do without, you know, Larry Page whispering in his ear and stuff like that. You just don't know. There's too much upheaval at Google to really be sure how committed they are. And also Amazon too. Like, you don't know how committed they are. But again, for both companies, it's ultimately a small upfront cost, and then it's the complexity down the road. It's the cash flow of having to pay all those new employees. It's the awkwardness of having to fire all the publishing arm and the marketing team and stuff like that. And for Microsoft, there could be like for the narrative, yeah, Microsoft would have to endure some mean YouTube videos and articles for a while, which talk about how, you know, Elder Scrolls 6 is never coming to Xbox and stuff like that, and that'd be really damaging to the brand. But then you have to think about, does it really make that much of a good business decision to have to basically take on all these extra studios and potentially lay off a ton of people just to prevent some negative PR? Because I don't think Microsoft would do that philosophically. It would have to, I feel like Bethesda would have to line up completely and totally with their business. And that's why they go for these smaller studios where layoffs happen, because they don't, to have a healthy business, they don't need Bethesda. They don't need Bethesda to have a healthy business. And that's when the business mind comes in. Sure, it would be nice for the brand if they could say Elder Scrolls is going to be Xbox exclusive on console, but it's way more complicated than that, you know. And I don't think Microsoft will buy it. I don't think they'll buy them. I think I also don't think they'd be able to outbid Tencent, because Tencent, like, I'm sure there's a price Microsoft will buy them at where they'd just be like, well, we'll eat those problems. But I think companies like Tencent would bid over them to a point where Microsoft's like, this isn't worth money and the aggravation that we will go for.
Then I got a question for you, but first I got to read this. Adam Super Chat says, I want to also add ZeniMax as a private company, and rumor had it that they were looking to go public like EA and Activision soon. That's why Fallout 76 exists in the first place, to also consider as well. Now, you mentioned Tencent, right? They've been going around kind of getting a lot of interest in some buying a lot of stocks and a lot of companies out there. So what would happen, though? Because it's not so much, to me, it's like, yeah, to pick up Bethesda would be great, the money and all that stuff. But would it be worth it to spend the money just to keep it out of the hands of your direct competition? Like, you're Phil Spencer, you're sitting there, you get a phone call, you pick up the phone, and you hear on the other line, Xbox has no games, and you're like, who's this? Wait, let me switch over.
It's Rand.
Sir, we hear that Tencent and Sony are very close to final negotiations with Bethesda. And you think to yourself, do I need to spend the money so they can't have Bethesda? So if anyone's going to have Bethesda, it'll be me? Like, not necessarily to get them because you need them, but because you can't let your competition have them. You know what I'm saying?
It's tough, man, because you can sort of like it makes sense when you talk about it like in the mindset what they're losing, but it's all that complexity that sort of drags the proposition down for me. Like, I can just imagine Microsoft's like team like weighing up the pros and cons of dropping this kind of money on Bethesda, and all the because companies like Tango Gameworks and maybe even Arcane.
Just say it, Jez. Just say what you truly feel. Outside of Bethesda and Elder Scrolls and Fallout, all the franchises that they do have, like Wolfenstein and Prey, they don't sell. They ain't worth it. Just say it. Just come right out and say it. I know you want to. Just say it.
I hate to say it because Prey was one of my favorite games of this gen. You know.
Yeah,
but it didn't sell.
Hey, Sam Tolbert. Jez is up here
truth.
saying that Arcane Studios ain't worth shit. What are you going to say to your boss, huh?
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I like I say, like Prey was one of my games of the generation, but it didn't resonate. And if you're Microsoft and you're looking to spend money, you have to take that into consideration, don't you? It's just the way things are in business. So it's about what would happen. And I want to believe that Microsoft will keep those studios open and just be like, well, they can make Game Pass content, or support our other studios and stuff like that. But I kind of don't know if they would. I don't know if they would. And I think I kind of see it where they just feel like there's too much overlap with some of their existing studios. Like, I believe like In Exile and Obsidian can build up RPGs to the level that people expect of Bethesda, And like people we haven't seen a quality Fallout game for a long time. We haven't seen Elder Scrolls for a very long time. And those are the franchises that you'd really want. I don't know. There's just so many reasons why it wouldn't be a good idea. Unfortunately.
Yeah. We'll see how that all plays out.
Doing it just to stop your competition buying it isn't a good enough reason.
Probably not. I mean, I kind of agree with you on that. I just know if that happened, if PlayStation did say that, like, I mean, it's gonna be annoying if you're a YouTuber. Well, no, not even a YouTuber. I mean, because that's great content. That's great content that you can make, and I'm gonna get both systems anyway, so it doesn't matter to me. I'd play those games on PlayStation. To me, that's like.
I tell you what. All things considered, I would rather PlayStation any day of the week than Tencent, Google, or Amazon.
Okay, fair. I mean, you have a good point there. Like Tencent, yeah. Google. Did you read that article? I think you linked it. It was like the guy who worked at Google was like, and he just basically is like, no, they need government oversight because they're evil now, or whatever. But
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Shout out to Rocky Rose for the super chats. What do you expect from global publishing in the next gen? Should the fact that Tell Me Why is the next summer inspire confidence because they could easily have saved the game for Xbox Series X launch? And Adam says, I would also say location, Texas, France, Maine, Netherlands, or Japan. You get studios in those locations. So it's an interesting question that Rocky Roads brings up, Jez, about next-gen Xbox Series X, Microsoft's publishing strategy. What do you expect from global publishing? Now, I guess I should clarify for anybody that doesn't know, Microsoft Global Publishing is for any games that they publish that aren't from their own first-party studios. So stuff like Ori is global publishing, right? Stuff like Gears Tactics is global publishing, if I'm not correct, right?
Yes.
So what do you think they're going to be doing for launch?
I don't know.
And afterwards?
Does that count as global publishing when it's coalition giving oversight? I don't know. I suppose it is.
Well, I mean, like Splash Damage isn't a first-party studio, even though. Okay, but you know what I'm trying to say. Global publishing. So, what do you expect from them next gen?
I don't expect anything to be radically. It'll just be more of the same of if someone pitches a game that makes sense and Microsoft decides they need content that month to fit in the schedule, they'll do it. I'm not expecting anything groundbreaking from global publishing, but we got Ori from global publishing, so I'm expecting like games like Ori, I guess, artistic, smaller in scope, maybe 2D for quality games.
I mean, Tell Me Why is from Dontnod. That's not necessarily 2D.
Yeah, I know, but it's small in scope. It's a narrative adventure game.
Is Microsoft Flight Sim global publishing?
Yes, because it's a Sobo. But again, it's a simulator. It uses cloud data to render, and it's cool and it looks nice. But they're using AI to power the graphics, and it's not like a complex game with a long narrative and expensive voice actors you have to pay for and stuff like that. The simulator.
Okay.
So I'm expecting like those kind of experiences from publishing. I'm not expecting Death Stranding from global publishing.
Fair enough.
Although, and it pains me to say actually, because like games like Quantum Break, which weren't well received, but built up really cool worlds that I would have loved to have explored more. I just don't think Microsoft are going to take those kind of risks on global publishing games. I don't know.
I mean, his point about tell me why that game could easily be pushed to the launch of Series X. So he's saying why release it in the summer? Why not just hold it until a launch title? For me, it's like that type of game. I think you just release the game whenever it's ready.
This is another thing about Microsoft. Like you were talking about, should Microsoft buy Bethesda just to stop a competitor getting it? That's not how they think, because they don't have to think that way, because they're the most valuable company in the world. So, like in the same vein, they wouldn't hold a game back artificially just to wait for it to launch on the console, because they don't really have to. You know.
Fair enough. Hopefully they get a bigger budget than what they had to work with this generation, though.
I tell you what, I'm interested in.
What do you
for 2020?
Pokemon, Death Stranding.
Well, I'm interested in the rumored Nintendo Direct, which is around.
You're interested in a rumored Nintendo Direct?
Because on the GameStop manifest, it shows a load of new Nintendo SKUs. And usually when that happens, it's unannounced games that are going to come as part of Nintendo Direct, and there's like 8 of them or something. So that usually triggers rumors of an upcoming. That's what I'm interested in. There's going to be a Nintendo Direct soon. I mean, with Metroid Prime remastered.
Who cares?
Ah, man, I knew you were gonna say.
I mean, there's.
But no, I on the Sorry, go on.
There's nothing.
Well, you don't even like Metroid Prime?
No. Metroid Prime is great. Is good for me. I'd love Metroid Prime. I just
Metroid. You know Metroid Prime? It's a better sci-fi franchise than Halo.
Don't you even fucking say it.
It's so much better than Halo.
Is that why it's been basically shelved for how long, since the GameCube? Nobody's seen a Metroid game in forever.
You need a high IQ. It's kind of like Rick and Morty, you know.
Who's Rick and Morty?
What?
Rick and Morty? Who's Rick and Morty?
You don't know Rick and Morty?
No, I know Rick and Morty is. I'm just saying, like, how dare you say that Metroid Prime is a better sci-fi franchise than Halo? It's ridiculous.
It's not. It is, dude. Samus would beat the hell out of Master Chief. Man.
I do like Metroid a lot. Like I played all 3 of the Metroid Prime games, and I do dig the early Metroid. So I would play Metroid Prime 4. No doubt.
But what on the Xbox side, one aspect of Xbox that I'm really curious about for 2020 that nobody really knows what's going to happen is, like, what are they going to do with Mixer? What's going to happen with Mixer? Like
Mixer?
What's going on with Mixer?
Mixer? Who cares about Mixer?
I just want to know. What are they going to do with that, man?
I mean,
it feels kind of like it's lost steam though.
Yeah, it's going to definitely be interesting to see what it looks like in a couple years. But look, they started something with the whole Ninja thing. Because if you notice now, before Ninja, streamer deals where you can only stream exclusively or getting paid, like that didn't happen. So they got Ninja, then they got Shroud, and now you see Twitch having to actually pay for Dr. Lupo and Tim the Tatman and all these guys, right? And even Facebook. But you know what? I don't care about them. I'm with Gunstar on this. I don't care about Mixer or the Mixer strategy. I know SubZedX has a lot of predictions about Mixer and how they'll integrate it with xCloud and Game Pass and all that stupid shit. But you know what? Honestly, who cares? I don't care about Mixer.
I really wanted Mixer to be a thing. I had a lot of fun streaming on Mixer, and I still stream on Mixer sometimes, but it does feel like the platform has lost steam, and I just hope it's not going to be another one of these failed experiments.
DI Almighty Spartan God says, when did it ever have steam?
Well, like if you look at the stats, it was going up and up and up and up and up, and then this year
I mean,
It's
up to
still,
what?
like,
It was like 3%.
No, it was like year over year. It was up 300% year over year.
But in the grand scheme of things against Twitch, it's like what?
Yeah, and compared to Twitch, it's tiny. But there were more gaming hours being streamed on Mixer than there was on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, nobody streams on YouTube because of the automatic copyright claims that you get.
Well, that too.
I mean, I remember my Bloodborne streams got claimed because of the music and stuff, and like
Really?
nobody wants to stream on YouTube because of that, because YouTube will somebody will claim it or get auto claims, so like any of the money that potentially could be made for it will go to them. Sometimes when people stream events, like the company will claim the video, and it happened with the VGAs. Their videos will be down. Monty says Rand has a face for podcasts, so pooping on the stream community. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
me too.
Yeah.
I never stream with camera on.
I mean,
I have a face for podcasting. Though.
if I did stream, I would stream with the cam. And I've thought about in the future, like using a camera or like putting myself in my videos. I've gone back and forth about that like this entire year. So obviously the things I want to do, it's just a matter of having the time and all that stuff to do it. But
yeah.
I don't know. To me, look, I like Xbox, right? I'm very interested in what they're doing, their strategy, the games they're making, what Series X is going to be like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, that stuff interests me. That stuff excites me. I like to talk about that stuff. I like to speculate about that stuff. Even what PlayStation does is interesting to me because I like a lot of PlayStation's games. Nintendo, not so much. I couldn't give two shits about Nintendo, so we don't talk about it that much. Pokemon, Jez has been trying to get me to play this game. I'm trying to. I can play it for 5 minutes every single day because it's the most blandest, boringest garbage I've ever played in my life. Right?
Dude, you've got to complete that game. You're
I'm
not
gonna
getting
complete
out
the
of
game.
it.
I'm gonna complete the game. And then,
You
but
can't
here's
get out
the
of it.
thing.
I won't let you.
I know that Mixer is Xbox and Xbox is Mixer. And just like with Nintendo, it's like, I don't care. I don't care about Mixer. And there's nothing you could get me to do to care about it in any meaningful manner. So as someone who's like, wants Microsoft to buy more studios, or who wants Microsoft to pump more money into their existing studios so they can produce higher quality experiences, right? I look at the money that they're dumping into Ninja and Shroud, and this is someone who I actually like Shroud a lot. I used to watch him a lot on Twitch. I think he is amazing at what he does, and I like watching him play and dominate the games that he dominates. But here's the thing. I'd much rather Microsoft spend that money in a way that I'm going to be directly what's the word I'm looking for? Directly use. And because I don't use Mixer, like that money to me is just like, well, it's just wasted. I know it's not my money.
Well, that's what worries me. That's what worries me is that all of this is going to come to nothing, and it's just going to. And all the money they've spent on Mixer over the past few years, it's just going to be a complete waste of time. And all that money they could have spent on things like new studios, new games, and stuff like that. And yeah, Microsoft has a lot of money, but could that money have been allocated better elsewhere? Could Microsoft have doubled down on supporting Twitch? Or is there like a part of the strategy we're not seeing here? And is Twitch doing something that, we don't know yet that forced Microsoft's hand into getting into streaming? But, I just hope it's not going to be a waste.
I mean, I can't see them just shutting it down. I don't know. I just don't care about Mixer. Shout out to the Ravenfloy, says, Jazz, get Rand into Monster Hunter or Nino Kuni. No, we're done with this. I'm never doing one of these things ever again. Like, get Rand to play this game that I know he's going to despise. Like, you knew I was going to hate this game. My buddy Gopher knew I was going to hate this game, and you still guilt-tripped me into playing it. I should have just said, you know what? Fuck them kids. I don't care. I ain't playing Pokemon. But no, I gotta do it. I gotta finish it. But Jez is like, no, we're gonna do World of Warcraft next year. I'm like, the fuck we are? We ain't doing World of Warcraft.
Yeah, you are, man.
No.
Dude, I had Colt Eastwood make us graphics and everything. This is an annual event now.
No.
Every year in November, we raise money for charity, and you get to play a game that I choose for you personally.
No. Shout out to
Yeah,
Rocky
yeah,
Roads. It
yeah.
says Microsoft Jack of all trades, masters of none. Anyways, right. Lonzo says Rand's a selfish gamer. If I don't directly use it, I hate it and don't want it. I don't necessarily hate Mixer. I just don't care about it, and that's just my opinion on it. Like I think Microsoft should use the money for gaming and other things. I think it's a waste because I don't think Mixer has a future. But that's just kind of how I see it. So, it is what it is. People might disagree, and I'm sure there are partners on Mixer probably definitely disagree. But yeah, like I don't use Mixer, so I don't care. I don't know. I don't really watch streamers either, so that whole thing to me is just weird either way. So, let's move on to Mike Ybarra. You ready for this, Jazz?
I am ready.
Mike Ybarra had some tasty comments about Xbox Series X, but then also about their Xbox Game Studios. So let me read the one he said. Spicy comments. Got people in their feelings. Suddenly, Mike Ybarra became best friends with PlayStation fans. It's very interesting to see. After a whole generation of PlayStation fans not liking Mike Ybarra, they suddenly like Mike Ybarra a lot.
Ooh.
So
why is that, Rand?
So he tweeted, or I should say, our good friend. Let me see if I can find the tweet. Our good friend, the one and only Tim Dog. You know Tim, right? Love Tim.
Tim's a cool dog.
Because we were talking last week about the rumored, like Digital Foundry did this video talking about the rumored, hey, Series X might be 12 teraflops because of this AMD leak in GitHub or whatever the heck. And there might be some truth to the PlayStation 5 being 9.2. Like, we don't know, right? And we were talking about it last week about the power. Xbox Series X might have a power advantage. And it's probably because they're targeting that, like I said in my video. It looks like they probably are going to be 500, so they're going to have a more powerful console. And it looks like I've always thought that Sony would also target a good price. So there's only so much power you can put into a $400 console, right? And a lot of people suddenly were changing their tunes when the 9.2 teraflop thing came up. Suddenly, everything was about the games. Suddenly, the games are the only thing that matters, which I agree with. Games matter the most. But power is also is part of the equation as well, because you can't be so underpowered from your competitor because you end up like the Xbox One ended up this generation at the beginning. Completely underpowered to the points where the games all look and ran worse. And that was a big problem for Xbox. And because launch titles and the launch window games for both consoles were subpar, nobody talked about the games. All they talked about was the gosh darn resolution. My game runs in 1080p and your game runs in 720p. PlayStation's better, right? Because nobody was talking about knack. Nobody was talking about Rise other than like how beautiful Rise looked, but like played. I mean, now my dog's barking, but yeah, the launch stuff wasn't really great, so nobody was talking about it. They were just talking about resolutions. But with Xbox having the power advantage with X, Series X, Xbox One X, suddenly it became about the games again, which is where I think the discussion always really should be. This is what Tim had to say on Twitter. So he goes, I love when people talk about power and then bring up, well, it's about content and that is king. For 3 years, the same people were asking about the resolution of the game and if it wasn't 1080p, it was lambasted. Where was that talk from 2013 to 2016? Lol, gotta laugh, right? And then Mike Ybarra, who no longer works at Xbox, works at Blizzard. He says, I agree with you, Tim, but to be fair, Xbox was the biggest. It isn't all about power, it's about games. When they didn't have the power. Now seems everything is about being the power king. Goes both ways, always too much PR. So, what do you think about that?
Well, he's not wrong, is he?
No, because there's definitely a lot of like the Sony fans were definitely saying power is the most important then, and Xbox fans, because they didn't have the power, were definitely ones saying the games are what matter, right? So he is right, because you kind of talk about what you have. Do you agree with Mike about there being always too much PR though?
Yes and no. I think, like, as someone who's interviewed Mike and various other Xbox executives, I think there is too much PR on some of the other employees. Like, oftentimes, you can't ask them a lot of the questions you want to ask, or they give you a PR answer and stuff like that. Which is why everyone wants to interview Phil Spencer, because Phil Spencer basically says anything that he likes, because he's the boss. So, I get where he's coming from on that angle, but I think, like, Microsoft does have a problem with PR. Like, they're too entrenched in wanting to how they appear, and this comes all the way back to not wanting to take any risks, right? They're obsessed with how they appear in the media, and they're obsessed with, you know, wanting to be seen in a certain way. And I guess on that end, what we see as gamers is, you know, gamers are generally smart people, and they can see through PR. They can see through that, see through the PR speak. But I think Phil is definitely someone who isn't like that. Like, if you compare Phil's interviews to that of, I don't know, Don Matrick, it's like night and day, right? Phil will admit where they've done wrong, admit where they need to do better, and oftentimes there'll be things that he just can't really speak about because either it's not on their radar, or they just don't have as many hands as we'd like them to have. Like, I was railing on them for localization issue earlier, and if I ever got an interview with Phil Spencer, which I don't think I ever will, because they know I'd ask questions like that. I suppose that's another thing, is like the PR people decide who gets to interview him, and maybe they vet the questions. I don't know, but I've never been offered an interview with Phil, and I'm not salty about that. It's just because I think maybe they think Phil's time would be better spent talking to maybe the general press, who maybe don't ask the sort of nitty-gritty niche questions, which we're all interested in here. Like, everyone who listens to this podcast might be interested in what I have to interview Phil about, but that's not necessarily what the wider market would be interested in. So it's tough, because the way we perceive the PR questions is different to the way the wider market perceives it. And I suppose it's different the way even Mike Ybarra is talking about it. Like, what kind of PR issues is he talking about at the end of the day? Is he talking about them not wanting to own up to their mistakes? Is he talking about them trying to control, you know, refuse to admit where things have gone bad? Because I personally think Phil Spencer's done a lot of that. Don't you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the people that say, you know, Phil's hasn't done anything are completely asinine. I think, I mean, you had an excellent article about the things that Phil's done, and he's always been very, you know, outspoken about the things he knows. Yeah, like, remember, like I think earlier this year, he was like, "Hey, yeah, the games we made, they haven't been good." You know?
Yeah.
You wouldn't see anybody from any other company really say that or admit that they have a problem with content. Definitely Don Matrick wouldn't. Don Matrick would be like, "Oh, look, Call of Duty marketing," you know, like, but I think they're like what Mike is saying is like, look, yeah, PlayStation guys said that, and Xbox guys just were like the opposite. Like, because they didn't have power, they would say, you know, it's about the games. But now he says everything's about being the power king. Like, maybe Xbox is too focused about having the most powerful console for next generation. Like, is that the most important thing, or should they be going for a middle ground like maybe Sony's doing, where you have a very powerful console that's affordable, but then you also have a bunch of games? Because Dealer responded to that and said, yeah, Xbox PR is too much, but I will say that's nice to see Microsoft finally doing both power and investing heavily in games. And then Mike said, yeah, hopefully it's AAA games and not AA average experiences. Got to differentiate with Epic Entertainment to get any of the PlayStation people to switch over. Very hard. Sony has a huge advantage in install base. Be fun to watch. I hope both win big and Nintendo. So, look,
Surely Mike knows what they're working on, though. Right?
well, you would think he would. And I know there'll be that line in the sand, right? That people will draw about, hey, you need more AAA stuff, and it can't be AA stuff. And I've always said, Xbox needs more studios. They gotta stop outsourcing all this stuff. Like Crackdown 3 being done by Sumo and how that turned out, tragedy. You have Crytek make Rise and you can't make a sequel, because of it, right? Because you don't own them and there was issues there. Stuff with Sunset Overdrive 2 because who knows if Insomniac wanted it or you didn't want it. Recore. It's like I look at it and it's just like number one, you need more studios, which they went out and they did. Are all those studios going to make AAA games? No. And I've never said all of them will. There's definitely some of those that will make AA experiences. The idea that, of course, if it's AA means it's average, I disagree with Mike on. Just because it's AAA doesn't mean the games are great. You can have very average AA games. I'm looking at you, Rage 2. You're talking about a mediocre average experience. That's it. And hell, I'm looking at you, Days Gone, a big AAA Sony first-party exclusive that was about as average as you could get. So just because it's AAA doesn't mean, one, it's good, right? But a lot of people do have that kind of thought process that if it's AA, it means it can't be on the level. But then they have some studios that are on the verge of it. Ninja Theory, who've said that Hellblade 2 is going to be probably one of the best looking games of next generation. Hopefully they do take the step and they make the gameplay more than what it was in Hellblade 1. The Obsidian with The Outer Worlds and what they're working on. They're on that cusp of AAA and AA, right? All those other things. So some of the studios will do AAA stuff, and some of them won't. But it's definitely going to be more of both than you've ever had from first party from Microsoft, and that's the point. You're going to have more games, number one, and because you have more games, a lot of them probably even better than previously, and so then you'll get more AAA games and more AA games. I don't know. So to me, it's not. I agree with Mike. I enjoy the AAA experience as much as everybody, but I also really enjoy the AA experiences of indie games that I played this generation, like Ori and the Blind Forest. And I've said this before. Ori and the Blind Forest is the best game Microsoft made this whole gen, outside of Gears 5. That's a AA game. So I've said previously that Ori's pretty much better than all the PlayStation games, except for God of War. People get on me for that because people also don't really respect other people's opinions. So when I say that, I don't
respect your opinion.
I know you don't respect my opinion, but you watch chat when the delay's done. Watch chat come up and say, "What, Rand? That's impossible." Blah 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 blah. It's it's just my opinion. I think Ori 2 as well is going to be better than a lot of games from Xbox, as well as other. See, there's the Almighty Spawn God saying, "Oh hell nah," because I knew he'd say that. Because I knew he was going to be the first one to say that. So I don't know. Mike ruffled a lot of feathers, and for me, I've always said, "Hey, I want more AAA, I want more AA, but what I want most are great games, and it really doesn't matter to me if it's AA or AAA. What matters to me is if the game's great." So that's what I've always said. That's what I've stuck to. Because like I said, just because it's AAA doesn't mean it's good. Because I played a lot of mediocre, terrible AAA games. So I don't know. What do you think about all this, Jez?
I want more games that surprise me, like Death Stranding. Like Gears 5, for as good as it was as a Gears game, it didn't surprise me. It tried all the same familiar territory. The things that it did new were great, but it was still like, this is a Gears game with some features borrowed from more modern games. Like the open world segments were interesting but empty. It's kind of like it. You can almost like feel what they're going for, but still needs to, sort of push it up to that level. I want more games that take risks. I want more games that are bigger in scope. I want more games that I can get emotionally invested in, like Quantum Break. Like, when I finished playing Quantum Break, I cared about the characters, I cared about the world they built, and then it was taken away because we're never going to get a sequel. So like, I'm sick of that feeling that you can't rely on Microsoft to make games that stick around either. Which again comes back to the whole second party thing problems. So there's a lot that Microsoft needs to do when it comes to building up their first party stable. And it's not just about money. It's not just about dumping money into it. It's about we've talked about it on the show multiple times, about be willing to take risk on a sequel. Like Microsoft seems to have this philosophy where it's like, oh, a game has to earn a sequel. Well, if it was up to Microsoft, there would never have been a Mass Effect 2. There would never have been one. Because Mass Effect 1 was rough as hell, and it had some really great elements, but it was the kind of game that where Microsoft would have been like, oh, you know what? This game wasn't an instant success story, so it doesn't deserve a sequel. That's what I feel. I mean, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But that's kind of the impression that Microsoft gives me with Quantum Break, with Rise. And I realized that there was a lot of problems with to do with why those games didn't get sequels, whatever. But as an end user, I don't care about that. All I see is that we're not getting sequels. We're not getting worlds that are getting built. We're not getting investment in the worlds that they've created. We're just getting fire and forget, shotgun approach to game design. And treading familiar ground, not taking any risks. Even Mixer, like what risks has Mixer itself taken? It's just Twitch. It's exactly the same as Twitch. And just do something new. And then stick with it and don't give up on it. Just because Quantum Break didn't make $1 million bajillion on its first outing doesn't mean that Quantum Break 2 wouldn't have done. I always come back to Mass Effect 2, man. And I often wonder, you think did Microsoft refuse to make Mass Effect 2? And that's why they went to EA in the first place.
Hold that thought here, because there was a bunch of super chats I need to read so people don't get upset. The Ravenflow, shout out to him. He says Phil got grilled by Fortune magazine. Check it, Jez. Xbox Battlegrounds says great podcast, 800 plus viewers. Congratulations. Oh, thanks. I haven't even looked at how many people are watching. We have over 800. That's fantastic. Make sure you guys hit the like button if you're enjoying the show, and subscribe if you haven't already. I haven't even looked at the page to see. Frost did that shit. He says the Coalition needs to work on a new IP. I do agree, and we'll talk about that here in a second. And Robert says, might a PS5 Pro later be more powerful than Series X? Well, yeah, of course. I mean, if it comes later, obviously it would be more powerful. But you never know. Maybe Microsoft also has a mid-gen thing. So your thing about Mass Effect, because that's interesting. They had that deal with them to do the first one. And then before the second one, or when they were making the second one, they were acquired alongside who was that studio they were bundled with? Do you remember? They did, was it Mercenaries or Mercenaries Playgrounds of Destruction or something like that?
Oh yeah. Ah man, I can't remember what they're called now.
And they were like
something like I can't remember.
You guys remember who
made Mercenaries? It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, they were like a package deal.
Was it Pandemic?
It might have been Pandemic, yeah.
Pandemic.
So they were a package deal, and EA had to get BioWare, EA had to buy them both. And they did. And then Pandemic eventually got shut down after Sam says it was Bullfrog. I mean, I trust Sam because he knows a lot of stuff. But Bullfrog, I don't think it was Bullfrog. I don't think so.
Wasn't Bullfrog Peter Molyneux studio?
No, and then other people are saying Pandemic. Yeah, I want to say the Mercenaries games were made by Pandemic. Either way, they got rid of them because they just wanted BioWare. And then they continued Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3, and all that stuff. So do you feel that they weren't going to continue with Mass Effect?
I just wouldn't be surprised. It's Microsoft's modus operandi, isn't it?
Yeah, that was also earlier Microsoft,
doesn't
though.
do well, we give up.
Well, yeah.
You know,
I mean,
I'm salty, man. I'm salty.
I mean, we got 3 really good Mass Effect games out of BioWare outside of the ending for 3. So it was, and 2 was a step up from 1 in every way. Like, you remember how rough 1 was? Like the combat and everything in it.
It was the first time. It was the first time they'd worked with Unreal Engine stuff.
Yeah.
So like, I appreciate why it was rough, but the fact is they stuck with it, and we got a sequel, and that's one of the best games ever made. I can't help but feel like what would happen if the same thing happened with Quantum Break 2, you know.
Yeah,
What would happen?
What would happen? Okay, what would happen if Sony saw the results of Uncharted 1 and the reviews and was like, nah, we're good. You never would have Uncharted 2 and that famous franchise. And maybe getting the confidence that they need to make those games to eventually go on to make Last of Us. That's the one thing I've always I didn't like Days Gone, right? But I know Sony is going to let Ben Studio make Days Gone. And hopefully it's going to be a better game for it. That's the one thing Microsoft kind of didn't do in the past. It was like, you get one try. And if that one try doesn't pan out, you're gone. It's like record.
I've when I've spoken to people at Microsoft, they always say that to me. Like various people across the whole company. You have to earn a sequel. You have to earn a sequel. You have to earn a sequel. I've heard loads of people say that to me. I can't help but feel like that philosophy is hurting Microsoft because the whole, how can you build on feedback if you don't make a sequel? If you can't know for sure if a game's going to be better in the sequel unless you go out and give it a try, you know. And I just hate that about Microsoft, is that with Sony, like you said, Days Gone's going to get a sequel and it's going to be better for it. At least we're hopefully going to get State of Decay 3, which will hopefully get the franchise to where it could possibly get to.
I don't think Microsoft's going to have that issue going forward. I think a lot of the studios they got are going to remain independent. I did see Mike say on Twitter that the Initiative's going to be a great studio. They remain independent, but run by Matt Booty. And I think they're going to be making the huge kind of AAA new IP experience that people want. Because, look, people really do crave that huge blockbuster experience that only really first parties can do. Or someone like Rockstar. Like, Rockstar comes out with the game once every 5 years, and it's literally an experience. And I think that's what people want. Is like, they look at some of the Sony studios who create great stuff, and it's like, we want that. We want that level of quality. Not necessarily, you can have quality smaller games, but we want that. We want to look forward to every Xbox Game Studios release. Because, some people are side-eyeing, some of them, I still look at Compulsion. I'm side-eyeing Compulsion. I'm like, really? Do you have what it takes? We'll see. I'm pretty confident Initiative will make something fantastic. And Playground, Obsidian, they've already proven it with Outer Worlds. So it's like, they have a lot of great studios. Just let them make content and give them the money to make it and get out of the way. Get out of your own way. Stop making mistakes. Let them make Outer Worlds too. If they want to make a sequel to something else, let them do it. Because that's how you get franchises. I agree with you. Quantum Break thing, that was something that really pissed me off. And not even the Rise 2 thing. Because as much as I like Rise, it's like, yeah, sure, Rise 2, all right. Rise 2 could have been great. You could have learned the mistakes and the lessons of what happened with that game, and go make the sequel. But Quantum Break, it's like, when that game came out, and people were talking about a sequel. I still remember Aaron Greenberg saying some games are designed not to have sequels, to just be a one-off. And I thought to myself, what? This is the video game industry. Games are designed to be franchises. You don't spend $80 million pumping it into a game to only do it once. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Quantum Break 2 was a game that was supposed to happen. And it didn't.
Seriously, I'll die salty.
Yeah, well, there's this guy salty in chat right now. He says, you guys talk a lot of dumb shit like you have no idea about gaming. Well, let me hide you, sir.
Ban him.
You know, that's what happens when you have a bunch of people. We have 833 people watching, 306 likes, 11 dislikes. Hit that like button, guys. You're going to obviously have people that, find the show, discover the show as, the channel grows and people like the podcast. And then you just get people in there that just talk that nonsense. Well, my ban hammer's strong. I didn't ban you, but I definitely hid your comment. You say something else stupid like that, you're gone. So, I don't know, man. The super chat that I did read about Gears, though, Jez. I think Gears needs a break. I think the coalition. I think the coalition needs to move away from Gears, and I think they need to give that game a 6-month break, or 6 months, 6 years.
6 months,
6 years. They need their next game. To me, I envision the coalition very similarly to Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog spent the entirety of last generation making Uncharted. They branched out and made Last of Us. Came back to make Uncharted. Well, technically 2 Uncharteds. They just kind of built the DLC in the main game. Back to Last of Us and are doing a new IP. My vision for the coalition is, I feel like the Gears franchise is no longer, how do I say this without pissing people off? I feel like the coalition is stuck in the legacy of how Gears can be played, right? And because we've had a new Gears game basically every 3 years since 2006, I think people have grown sick of the franchise. And by now, if you like the multiplayer, or if you care about the story, and all that stuff. So to me, I think what would be best suited for the coalition is for their next game to be something completely different. Whether it's a brand new IP, or whether it's Perfect Dark, like there are rumors going around that there's a Perfect Dark or whatever, that is the next game they need to make. Because as much as I love Gears 5, I'm not really that much of, dying to play the next Gears. But if you gave me some time, if, 6 years from now, I might be like, you know what? Damn, I'm ready to go. I want to find out what's going on, how they might end the story with Kate. Like, how is Marcus going to, how's he going to react after what happened at the end of that game? Like, give me some time to process it. Give me some time to miss Gears. Like I've missed Halo. It's been 5 years since Halo. I miss it. I'm really excited for Infinite, and it's because you've given me time to actually kind of grow fond of it and want it again, the same way that, Rockstar does with Grand Theft Auto. Make it special, make it an event. Let the coalition kind of, let them spread their creative wings, because Gears has to play a certain way. It has to feel a certain way. It has to do this and has to do that. Let them make whatever they want. If they have this great idea to do something different, let them make it. And then 6 years from now, we can go back to Gears. I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts on all that, Jez. So that's what I want them to do.
I think the problem they've got is they've left Gears on a bit of a cliffhanger. So that's a long time to wait to get the saga completed. I think maybe they should finish off this particular saga and then come back to it, possibly. I don't know. Because then they can start with a clean slate, kind of like what they do with the Star Wars trilogies,
Yeah.
For the start over with a fresh generation or whatever. I don't know.
So you think because of the cliffhanger they have to do Gears 6 next.
I kind of feel like that, yeah.
Oh,
Or at
man.
least not let it be 6 years.
I mean, but here's the difference though. It's not like this is a Sumo Digital or Crytek situation. It's not like it's something that could never happen. I mean, Coalition is owned by Microsoft. And as far as we know, these studios have, Phil Spencer says, like, him and Matt Booty, they don't really have any creative input in what those guys make. They're free to do whatever with the support of Microsoft. So if they wanted to do that, and maybe I could be wrong. Maybe the whole studio is just like a bunch of diehard gearheads that are like, all right, let's churn out Gears 6, put that out in 2022, and then in 2025 we're at Gears 7, and then at 2028 we're at Gears 8, and at 2031 or whatever we're at Gears 9, and it's maybe that's their whole strategy. I just want something new. I want to see what they can do, and then they can.
I think it would be exciting to see what the Coalition is. Well, clearly they're a talented studio, and clearly you can see them feeling constrained by what Gears is supposed to be, quote unquote.
Like, just take a sabbatical. Like, nobody's upset that Naughty Dog is moving on from Uncharted, are they? Uncharted had 4 games. It had a great conclusion to the series. It's like, now we're going to get the next Last of Us. Will it be the last one? I don't know. But rumors are Naughty Dog's making a new IP. They're doing something different. It's like, sometimes you just need to end a franchise and move on and do something else. Stretching it out all this time, maybe isn't that good. I don't know. That's kind of
They should do that to Halo.
No.
They should do that to Halo. Just stop it. Just stop.
Don't do this to me, Jazz, please. Don't do this to me. I mean, no. I
make so many people mad listening to this.
I mean, I would love for the Coalition to actually make something different too. Not saying get rid of Halo. I'm just saying, like, isn't 343 like 600 employees now? Oh, right.
I don't know, but the thing is that they have a lot of projects concurrently going on, like the Master Chief on PC, Master Chief Collection on PC, and all that sort of stuff. They've got like a lot of, I don't know what you call it, fingers in pies and stuff.
Yeah, they do have a lot of fingers in pies.
Yeah. My idiom meter is running low because it's midnight.
Adam with the super chat says the real issue is Xbox made these studios for making these games. Even their names come from IP related names. They're huge and they should do more IP. Yeah, I mean, that is right. The Coalition is named after the Gears franchise. They were originally Microsoft Vancouver, if I'm not mistaken. They changed the name, and Microsoft did spend a lot of money to get the IP. So there is that. It's like, did we get our return on our investment? And I have heard that Microsoft is very happy with how Gears 5 turned out. And they're very... I mean,
it's all better than Gears 4, right?
I mean, that's what Phil says. I mean, but I have heard, behind the scenes, like, people have told me that they're happy with the performance of Gears 5. I don't know. I just kind of look at it and it's like, I would like to see something different. I'm not saying get rid of Gears. Just put Gears on a break. Like 6 years from now, come back to Gears 6. Make me miss it. So I'd be like, damn, yeah, I want to see how Kate is going to handle whatever the end of this is all going to be. I
don't know. I really like Gears. I do, but I think I don't necessarily want it to go on hiatus. I think 2 years is a bit short. I'd rather see them push it out to like 3 years.
Yeah. And
like do something truly special with that IP. Like why just churn them out? Make it something special. Make it something that stands the test of time. Like you have to ask yourself in like the next 10 years when people are doing their end of decades lists, if the universe is still here, is anyone going to include Gears 4 and 5 in their top 10 games of the decade? I don't think so. Why not try and make one of those games that stands the test of time? Why not take your IP treat your IP with a little bit more respect, Don't just churn them out. Make them special.
Make them special.
Make them special.
We do have a super chat. We need to answer from Face23BKNY, who I do have a bet with him. Jazz, you want to know what my bet is?
Oh, go on.
So do you remember about, what was it, a week or two ago? I had said, hey, Horizon Zero Dawn's coming natively to PC. And then, boy, did I take a massive L. They got announced for PlayStation Now. And a lot of the Sony fans were like, haha, Rand, you're wrong, blah, 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 blah. I was like, we'll see, but okay, yeah, sure, I'll take an L, you know, like, it's all for fun. It's all in fun and games. Some people take this stuff way too seriously. Like, you should have seen some of the messages I got, dude. Like, some people, and even some of the videos I do, you should see some of the messages, like, some of these people take this shit so fucking seriously, it scares me. Like, I get scared sometimes. It's like, look, I like video games as much as everybody. I like Xbox, I like PlayStation. But my God, I am not attached to this stuff like some of these other people are. Like, holy shit, right? So yeah, sure, I took an L. You know, whatever. No big deal. It's all fun and games. People are handing me L's all day, all night. I drank my L shape, quoting Dealer Gaming here from his video. I was eating my L shape breakfast Cheerios with my L shaped drink, watching my L shaped TV with my L shaped hat on. You know, it was all L's everywhere, right?
That's a lot of L's, man.
Someone said you attacked J-Dub with your fake news. I haven't tweeted J-Dub in I don't know how long. I don't know what. See, these are the type of shit people say that there's no. I haven't tweeted J-Dub in forever. What does that got to do with anything? Like, what in the world? Oh man, some people, I don't know. Either way, so Face said, "Hey, let's make a bet." And I was like, "Okay, what do you want to bet?" He's like, "I bet you Horizon Zero Dawn doesn't come to PC natively." And I'm like, "Okay, sure. I think it will." And he's like, okay, well, if it's not announced by the time Final Fantasy VII Remake comes out, you have to buy Final Fantasy for me. I'm like, okay, cool. And if it is announced, he has to buy Final Fantasy for me. So I'm like, hey, that's a fair enough bet. I got till March to see if it's announced. So, you know, if I win, I will definitely honor my bet. And he's a man of his word. He's the one that donated the money for me to get a PS4 Pro those couple years ago. So he's a really good dude. He's just a big PlayStation fan. So we'll see. We got 2 more months to find out until you get either I get a free copy of Final Fantasy or he gets a free copy of Final Fantasy. You know, and it's always very respectful. You know, but some of these other dudes, they're definitely not. And if you're not, like, I don't block people on Twitter. You know, I might mute people. Like, I mute you immediately if you're disrespectful, if you're being a piece of garbage. If you're being like a racist, like, sexist piece of garbage, I'll block you then. But Jez, it's pretty pathetic out there. But anyways, he says, "What's up, Rand and Jez? If Microsoft releases the 2 SKU launch to sandwich PS5, will they also release a mid-gen refresh if Sony does?" I mean, just the name Xbox Series implies there's going to be more than one. Obviously, Lockhart, we have heard, is a thing. But it's not going to stop there, Jez. I fully expect there to be mid-gen refreshes. And new system refreshes. Yeah.
Consoles are smartphones. You're going to get increasingly rapid upgrades. Hopefully. I mean, I don't mind that. But some people don't like it because it's not traditional.
Some guy goes, "Yes, you tweet about how J-Dub is damage controlling supposed PC release with you confirmed." Dude, I barely tweet as it is. You must have me confused with somebody else. God. This is the type of shit I deal with sometimes. They must think I'm somebody else. Anyways, so Frosted that shit wants to know, the Coalition is too good to be tied down to Gears. The things they've shown that they can do, whether Unreal Engine amazing, a small team could update Gears. I agree with you. And Pixelbit says, "Hey, I just want a Halo third-person action game with Sergeant Johnson." Hell yeah, a third-person Halo game would be great. But anyways, Jez, anything else you want to talk about? I mean, we got Mike Ybarra basically saying that Xbox Series X is super powerful. Digital Foundry saying it's 12 teraflops potentially. He's Richard from Digital Foundry is doing it. He says that it's a bigger beast than he thought it was going to be, right? So they got the power crown.
What, the X?
Series X, yeah. If you watch his video, Like, is there anything else you want to talk about before we get out here? Before we end the show, or maybe, guys, if you have any questions you want to ask us, make sure you get them ready because we're gonna take some here. You got anything you want to add before we kind of do the soft end of the show here?
I think that's it.
You think that's it?
I think that's it. I think it's going to be a good year for Xbox. Obviously, they've got a lot of things they've got to navigate and work around. If it's true about, if it really is true about Bethesda being picked up by one of the competitors, that's going to be a fun couple of weeks of drama. But there's every reason to be optimistic about the future of Xbox. They just have to execute. They've got all the pieces in play. They've got a great community out there. Like, I love interacting with the Xbox community. It's a great community, and Microsoft are lucky to have those kind of fans. So Microsoft should do right by them at the end of the day. And
right.
Thankfully, with Phil, we've got someone at the top level of Microsoft, which we've never had before. Xbox fans have never had someone at the top level of Microsoft, pleading their case. So it'll be interesting to see what generation looks like with someone like that at the forefront. But I don't know. It's interesting times.
Yeah, I'm super excited for 2020. I got a couple videos coming out about all this stuff that I'm been working on. And yeah, I'm still working on my top, like, because of my back problems I've had recently, I really haven't sat down to make, like, top 10 games of the year and my most anticipated. But all that stuff's coming. So if you, if you want to be, you want to join the channel, it's right there. You want to subscribe to it, it's right there. Hit the subscribe button. We had like 850 people here tonight live. I think that might be our high watermark for this show, Jazz, ever. Like, I think that's the most we've ever had. So we thank you for that. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the show. But let's answer some questions. So, where do you want to start here? Douglas Lucas says, what genre lack in Xbox Game Studios? I think a good terror like Dead Space it's a good point. Yeah, horror? Like, who does horror anymore? Nobody, really, right?
Pretty much. I mean, actually, that's what I'm really loving about Death Stranding is that it's basically a horror game.
No, it's not.
But it kind of is.
No, it's not.
It?
It is. No, it's not. It is not a horror game. No way.
You're telling me?
Absolutely no way.
Junji Ito horror it's got horror element. You're telling me that? Are you telling me that sneaking a huge package through a BT field isn't spooky?
That's more stealth. I mean, no, I look at that as stealth.
It's spooky, man.
Horror. No,
ghosts floating around.
Yeah, but Jez, what happens if you actually get grabbed? Like, they barely do anything to you. They pull you around, and then a big floppy whale comes out of the ground. And while it looks visually impressive the first couple times, it barely does anything to you. It's just spooky, walk away from you. Walk away from it.
It's spooky.
Okay. Gunstar wants to know New Year's resolutions. That was a question. So New Year's resolutions. I don't know, to be healthy.
4K.
4K.
My New Year's resolution is 4K. Get it? No. Resolution.
Oh yeah, resolution. I've been playing in 4K.
Oh, you got it now.
Last year. Yeah. No, be more healthy. Lose weight.
I have no New Year's resolutions because I'm perfect.
Be more happy, I guess. Because sometimes I get comments from people and it's just like, why are you so mean? Like,
why are you so mean?
Why? And then you read some stuff from other people and you're like, oh, God, you are an idiot. Like, oh, I feel you should not procreate. Please
block them all. I
don't block people. I like the idea of muting people. Because I like the idea of them trying to shout at me and I can't hear it. So that's what I do. Let's see what else we got here. Did you talk about Kojima's tweet? Next idea? I have no idea what Kojima tweeted. Joe Sinnerson wants to know, Rander Jazz, do you think Microsoft will show more Hellblade 2 at E3 2020? Maybe some gameplay.
Sorry? You cut off.
Do you think Microsoft will show Hellblade 2 at E3? Again, gameplay?
Yes, I do.
De Niro says my New Year's resolution is to tweet more. Yeah, I don't really tweet that much. Here's the thing. People have told me I should do that more, but it's just really not in my nature. Like, I don't really think of like, oh, well, I should take a picture of what I'm eating and tweet it out, or this is what I'm thinking, I should tweet it out. I guess I'm just not really wired that way. Like, making a YouTube video is one thing because I can make it as long or short as I want. I can give out my full thoughts. But like a tweet, 240 characters, it's kind of like I'm just not wired that way to do that. Some people are, but just not me. And every time like people tell me I need to force myself to do that, I don't know what to say. You know what I mean?
I see it as like Twitter's like a chat room. I just use it as a chat room. I don't really care about putting out, deep philosophical things.
So
I just use it to talk to people, really.
Hens Olo he says, what is your opinion on the Guao Wengo versus Guao Bosheng case? Major scandal in the Xbox Twitter community. You said this before, and I have no idea what you're talking about. Do you?
What?
Yeah, he says the GUO, and it's like Gua Wengi versus the Gua Bashing case. I don't know. I don't know if it's like a joke to get me to try to say those words because I'll butcher it like everything else. But I have no idea what you're talking about.
I have no idea what that is.
No
idea. Sorry.
Pro Killer Dante says, hey, do you guys like The Witcher on Netflix? I loved it. I don't think Jez has watched it yet.
There's some breaking news.
What's breaking news?
Vince Zampella has been promoted.
I saw that earlier, yeah. He's moving to DICE LA, right?
No, he's leading both Respawn and DICE LA.
Ah, okay. Well, I mean, that's a good decision,
New game, new name.
Yeah.
So DICE LA is gonna change its name or something? Wow, I suppose if there's anyone in the industry who deserved the promotion last year, it was probably Vince Zampella, right?
Yeah.
Apex Legends and Jedi.
Yep.
Same year.
Great year for Respawn, yep.
Congrats to Vince.
Yeah, congrats to Vince. Colonial Ace says, with all Xbox All Access being a thing, think they can promote having the service so that every 2 years you get a new Series X upgrade hardware and always have the most powerful console?
Nope, they're not doing modular consoles. Is that what he asked?
He says, do you think they promote having do you think because Xbox All Access exists that they can...
Oh, Xbox All Access. I thought he was asking about...
Yeah. Like, so you could put out a new console every 2 years and get a new Series X up. Like, there's the Xbox Series X2.
I am interested because Xbox All Access is now available through Amazon US and UK. Again, US, UK, lol. But it's available for you through the US and UK. And when you search for Xbox, there's a huge Xbox All Access banner across the top of the page, as if Microsoft wants to lock people in like that. So I'm interested to find out how much they actually achieve through that. Because if they can lock people in like they lock people in with phone contracts, that'd be pretty big for that long-term strategy.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Someone asked me how many sisters I have. I have two sisters.
That's random.
Yeah, I know, right? The next thing they're going to ask me is my address, what's my name of my pet, my social security number, my mom's maiden name. Like all this stuff. Ryan wants to know, with the back buttons add-on coming for the PS4 controller, do you think that might point to back buttons as standards on next-gen controllers? So I've thought that, I thought it was weird that Sony put in that back button like add-on to the PS4 controller. Then there were some patents that came out about the DualShock 5 that had back buttons on it. Yeah, I mean, do you think back buttons... I think it's possible that Sony might have back buttons as standard for their regular controller for next gen.
I think it makes sense. Like, I use the back buttons on the Elite controller for volume up, volume down, screenshot, and record game clip. I don't actually use them for games, really. I used to have a profile setup where like I could reload and jump using the back buttons, because then you could keep your thumb on the joystick at all times and not have to like shift it over to the buttons to hit reload and stuff like that, which was really great for playing McCree in Overwatch at the time. But I don't know. The thing is, if Sony makes it standard, then Microsoft would have to follow suit, right?
And of course,
And I suppose
they probably won't. No, Sony will. And James is like, wait a minute, what? And we're gonna have to add that.
But we talked about that before. How Xbox controllers have the proprietary port on the bottom, so theoretically, it wouldn't be such a stretch for them to add some kind of accessory, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true.
IDK.
Let's see what else we got here. Subzetics says, Rand, what's the name of your childhood best friend? Wouldn't you like to know?
Someone's trying to like crack into
right?
your accounts or something.
Nah, I got two-factor authorization on pretty much everything. Yeah, so it looks like that's all the questions. We had a huge turnout tonight, over 850 people. 853 was the most we had, I think, ever for the Xbox 2 show. And on January 2nd, 2020, I think that points to good things for Xbox. Me and Jez are both extremely excited about Xbox this year and Xbox, in the future. I know sometimes we may, bring up issues that some people might say, oh, you're just complaining or whatever about, the localization stuff. But I think that's a topic that needs to be discussed, and I'm glad we talked about it today, and I'm glad that you wrote an article about it,
Yeah, thanks to everyone who reached out about that as well. It's like... Yeah.
So with that said, if you like the show, hit the like button, subscribe. Thanks for being here. If you're listening to this later on iTunes or Spotify, Google Play, SoundCloud, we appreciate you as well. Jez doing his best to get these podcasts up as as fast as possible, because I know everybody doesn't want to necessarily watch it on YouTube. With that said, we should be back next week, right, Jez?
Yep, indeedy do.
Indeedy do. So I'm sure there's always something that happens. So we'll have new stuff to talk about. So have a good rest of the week. Keep it gaming, and we'll see you next time on the Xbox 2 podcast. Later,
Take care,
guys.
party people.